Have you ever felt like your brain is just a web browser with way too many tabs open at once? Well, today we're going to grab the mouse, take a deep breath, and just dive right into that beautiful, totally bizarre, and let's be honest, chaotic operating system that is your mind. It's going to get weird. Let's do it.
You're just trying to get through your day, focus on one thing. And then out of absolutely nowhere, you should buy a goat. And your brain immediately follows that up with, what, a profound piece of cultural criticism? Nah, dick is overrated. Okay.
Which is then instantly interrupted by a critical system alert. My left tit hurts. And right after you have this tiny, fleeting moment of self-confidence, the internal fact checker chimes in with, no, you're fat. Before your brain just zooms all the way out and lands on this grand, sweeping, final judgment, humans are garbage. Does any of that sound familiar? Yeah, I kind of thought it might. That complete whirlwind of nonsense and anxiety and just random observation, that is what we're digging into today. So let's get into it, because that internal chaos, it's not just random noise, it's actually a system. A very messy, totally contradictory, and often hilarious one for sure. But if we can understand how it's built, we can maybe learn to navigate it, without crashing the whole machine. And this right here is going to be our main idea for today. Just think of your mind as a computer desktop that is just cluttered with 100 unlabeled tabs. One tab's your grocery list, another is some deep-seated childhood fear, and a third one, just a picture of a goat. And that faint, annoying music you can hear but can't place, oh, that's just your low-grade anxiety humming in the background. So our job today is to start putting some labels on these tabs. All right, let's start with the loudest tabs. You know the ones that are just broadcasting this constant stream of internal static, that never-ending running commentary of judgment. This is the perfect example of what some people call cognitive friction. See, our brain doesn't just think one thought and then move on to the next. No, it holds them both at the exact same time. The nice thought and the immediate, harsh correction. They exist together, creating this constant mental wrestling match. And what's really wild is that there's no sense of priority. The thought about quitting your job and moving to Switzerland can feel just as urgent and just as important as the sudden, passionate realization that onions are, in fact, disgusting. The huge, life-changing stuff and the totally trivial stuff are screaming for your attention with the exact same volume. Now, this one's fascinating because it's not just a random thought. This is the outside world sneaking in. All those bureaucratic pressures, legal, financial, governmental, they just seep into our subconscious until they become part of our own internal chatter. And this leads to something we could call internal gaslighting. The outside world is always demanding proof of who you are, so you start demanding proof from yourself. That constant need to double-check everything, it's not just you being anxious. It's your brain basically internalizing the world's endless need for paperwork. So, with all that going on, where does that leave, well, us? Let's click over to our next set of tabs, the ones that are trying to figure out our identity. Because if your thoughts are this broken up, what on earth does that mean for your sense of self? This analogy just nails it. We all like to think of our identity as, a single, clear reflection in a mirror. But for a chaotic mind, it is so much more like a shattered mirror on the floor. You glance down and you see 100 different versions of yourself, all at once, and none of them feel quite whole. And these right here, these are the shards. One piece reflects your own contradictory self-image. Another piece reflects where you think you stand compared to normal people. A third shard is just your legal status, your birth certificate self. And a fourth reflects that nagging feeling that maybe, just maybe, everyone's secretly mad at you. This question is the absolute perfect example of that second shard. It's hilarious, it's super relatable, and it's also deeply revealing. It just shows how we are constantly measuring ourselves against this completely imaginary, totally invisible standard of normalcy, turning something as simple as laundry into a vote on whether or not we're a functional human being. Okay, now let's talk about the tabs that our body opens. Those sudden, urgent alerts that pop up without any warning, demanding our immediate attention and, often sending us spiraling into a late-night medical search session. And this is such a vital way to reframe it. When your brain serves up a thought about some random pain, it's not just being negative for the sake of it. Think of it like an error log. The negative thought isn't the problem itself. It's a report of a problem that the system, your body, is trying to flag for you.
These are all system alerts. That sharp, unexplained pain. The moment you completely lose track of what day it is. A sudden, visceral disgust for a certain food. And of course, the ultimate alert. The point of emotional overload, where the only logical next step seems to be a full system reboot, which is usually initiated by crying. It's like your body is performing its own little forensic audit of stress.
So, our mind is a computer with 100 tabs open, blaring conflicting information, and constantly flashing these error messages. The big question then is, how do we keep it from just crashing? How do we find the task manager for our own minds? And here's the secret, okay? The goal isn't to get to a completely silent mind or to just force quit every single tab. That's pretty much impossible. The real goal is to become a good system administrator. It's about calmly looking at all the open processes and just starting to understand what they are and why they're running in the first place. So here's a really simple framework. First, just acknowledge the thought. Hello, random goat thought. I see you. No judgment. Second, try to identify its source. Is this a judgment tab? Is it one of those identity shards? Or is it a body error log? And third, try to distinguish the signal from the static. Your left tit hurting? That might be a signal worth checking out. The sudden urge to buy a goat? That's probably just static. Look, this isn't about fixing your chaotic mind. It's about learning to work with it. It's about seeing the patterns in the noise and maybe even starting to appreciate the strange, creative, and resilient machine that's just doing its best to navigate a really complicated world. So with that in mind, I'll leave you with this. Your brain has 100 tabs open. Which one are you going to click on next?